Hi and welcome to our channel. It's hard to think which political parties members of parliament won't be implicated on claims to try and create some sabotage either in the state organs themselves or through classified information, which they are getting accused of compromising.
To be linked with that is quite insulting.
Democratic Alliance MP Diane Kohler Barnard there speaking to us about those allegations coming from Mkhwanazi, speaking, of course, about MPs that may have interfered with some of the state work. Thank you so much for your time.
Democratic Alliance's Member of Parliament Kohler Barnard has also been listed as one of the MPs that compromised the state's security by going public with classified information she could have properly handled in more respectable committees set up to handle such delicate matters. Let's watch what General Mkhwanazi presented about her and then get to listen to her replies on such claims.
Commissioners, Ms. Kohler Barnard is a long-serving member of parliament. Maybe you might, beg your pardon, Ms. Kohler Barnard, maybe you might excuse to some degree, not that I agree with it, Mr. Adams, of being new in that parliament. But Ms. Kohler Barnard is a veteran in parliament as a lawmaker who ought to understand what belongs where in parliament. And I can confirm, Commissioners, that she is appointed by her own political party, which is the Democratic Alliance, to be a member of both the Portfolio Committee on Police that deals with the open account, as well as being a member of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, which deals with the COVID funds. So she's better positioned to call the department to come in account at the right platform. But we have seen, and I said when I started, I'm going to throw one example of each. I'm not going to go into details with many. There are many examples. But she's one of the leaders in our legislature that is participating in both breaking the law as well as fueling these malicious attacks that are happening within crime intelligence and ultimately directed at Khumalo as the head of that intelligence. I said she is a member of Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. So what I put here on as an example on page 61 under paragraph 186 is a statement that she released in her capacity as a member of the Democratic Alliance, which I'm going to call these two paragraphs, Commissioners, on record. The Democratic Alliance is calling for an immediate and thorough investigation into the recent purchase of a multi-million rand commercial property by the Crime Intelligence Division of the South African Police Service in Bria in Durban. The second paragraph, this purchase, approved by high-ranking officials within Crime Intelligence, raises serious concern due to the vast amount of taxpayers' money involved, especially as it follows a previous highly questionable property acquisition in Pretoria to the tune of 22.7 million rand, a matter that the Inspector General of Intelligence confirmed is now being investigated. The full statement is available on the internet. You can go and throw it. It comes from Ms. Kohler Barnard. Now she's introducing an Inspector General. We know, and we're going to demonstrate that later, that the intelligence community, they operate separately from a normal account. There are three entities established in the country. One is within defense, another one is state security, the third one is crime intelligence. And both of them are supervised by the Inspector General of Intelligence. That is the only individual that has got access to all the classified and the work that they do at crime intelligence. And whatever reports this Inspector General of Intelligence discover must communicate with the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. Later in our presentation, Commissioners, I will demonstrate in some of the incidents that happened at crime intelligence that involve the Office of the Inspector General for Intelligence being used by politicians, which I had an experience on as I read my portfolio, my profile, the experience I had when I was the acting National Commissioner at the time. We will indicate that because in trying to address the issues that crime intelligence and the political involvement, back in 2011, I deposited an affidavit at the Zondo Commission. That affidavit is available. Unfortunately, I was never invited to come and testify at the Zondo Commission. So the patterns that were there, the modus operandi of how they are dealing with things at crime intelligence back then, it still exists today. So what we see here is a person who has a legal obligation to keep the mouth shut and go to the Joint Standing Committee and present and ventilate on this and hold the Divisional Commission accountable. But she does not use that platform. She goes publicly and discloses this. The risk of this, commissioners, is that it forces the members that are within crime intelligence in the public space to defend themselves by divulging all the secrets of the states that they are aware of, the irregularities within crime intelligence that ranges from the police to the political parties, which the members are not supposed to, according to their vetting and their classification of that information. The platform they have to vent that is within the Inspector General of Intelligence and Parliament, Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. So that's why a provincial commissioner like myself, General Mkhwanazi, I'm not invited to the Joint Standing Committee because I've got no business with that budget. It is the Divisional Commission of Crime Intelligence that has an access to the Joint Standing Committee to go and account, because he's the one that is classified to be there and deal with the matter. So we demonstrate here that the Ms. Kohler Barnard have acted, and the Inspector General of Intelligence, we have evidence of that he's part of the instrument of investigating the things or counter-investigation of the things that the team are doing within intelligence. So that's what I thought maybe I must bring forward without going more into details. As I said earlier, these are some of the things that General Khumalo is going to come here and is going to elaborate more of what actually is contained on this Gauteng counterintelligence investigation, who is involved, and how the counter, what is the role that the Inspector General of Intelligence is playing in trying to frustrate this project. And we know in public, it's public knowledge, that the very same Inspector General of Intelligence have signed MOUs with entities outside that intelligence structure. Okay. One of them is IP, which is within the police, as an example. So, but we'll demonstrate that, commissioners, because what we're trying to show here and tell the South Africans is that the whole intention is to stop the investigation of this cartel and the operations of this cartel. And all the efforts that we are seeing as we are presenting this today is that there is a concerted effort of making sure that Khumalo and whoever he works with are frustrated in making this to end in court. And different approaches are being applied, as we're going to be demonstrating as we are continuing with this testimony today.
So you are suggesting for the moment that that issue be flagged, the complaint regarding that particular MP be flagged, and that General Khumalo will testify more as regards the issue you highlight here. Is that your testimony? That's exactly.
Simple, because there's a secret fund account mentioned here, there's an Inspector General of Intelligence mentioned here. That is not much of my space, so that's why Khumalo will come and testify on this in details, commissioners.
Thank you, General.
Now, to respond to these allegations, Diane Kohler Barnard joins me now to respond to this. Diane, thank you so much for your time this evening. You've been criticised by the KZN Police Commissioner for essentially disclosing classified information, telling the South African public that perhaps as a seasoned member of parliament, you could have known better. Your response to this?
Well, the statement, I must categorically say, and in the strongest possible terms, is outrageous, it's defamatory, and it's entirely baseless. I have no idea why he's felt the need to make this statement. He's even suggested my involvement in a criminal syndicate and that I've leaked sensitive information. Now, I was on the JSCI, the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, last term, the full term, no issues. And then it was obviously dissolved at the end of the last parliament. On the 17th of February this year, there was extensive reporting. There were photographs in national newspapers about the properties. And I wrote to the Inspector General of Intelligence as an ordinary MP, formally requesting an investigation into what seemed to be dubious purchases of the two properties by crime intelligence. That was out in the public domain, and the request was a direct response to the serious concerns raised. My inquiries to the Minister of Public Works, for example, confirmed that no approach had been made for the properties. There are many public works properties that are utilized, and that's basically a fundamental legal requirement for such acquisitions. Now, the various reports in the newspapers suggested the purchases were approved internally by high-ranking SAPS crime intelligence members, bypassing proper procedure, and that raised significant red flags. Bear in mind that the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence took a full year from the time of the national election to operationalize. So it was months before the committee was formally constituted that I wrote to the Inspector General of Intelligence, 2.5 months. Now, I served as a member during the last term, and I know once you are sworn into the committee, no member may share anything spoken of within that committee. When we were sworn into the committee, that then was the rule, and I had not been sworn into any committee. As such, obviously, I cannot today speak of the outcome of the investigation by the Inspector General of Intelligence because the report was presented to the committee. Now, for it to be suggested, as some headlines read today, that I was somehow part of a criminal syndicate is absurd. I've spent 21 years in Parliament passing laws and ensuring that they go through Parliament and they are implemented. To make such a claim is outrageous. The lieutenant told the Judicial Commission that they could Google my statement, but in the same light, a few minutes of research on Google would have shown him that the initial reports of the two properties appeared in the media where they appeared, and that I then subsequently reacted to those reports and said that I had approached the Inspector General.
Now, Mkhwanazi,
I was only a few months later, so really what he's come out with is outrageous.
I understand that from Mkhwanazi's side, he argues that that very statement, by going public with it, you may have forced intelligence officials in some way to defend themselves and risk exposing more state secrets. Do you accept perhaps maybe that they may have been, apart from your side, despite the fact that it was perhaps public, but issuing the statement may have undermined their efforts as well?
Absolutely not. This was out in the public domain. Every inch of it was in the public domain. The questions were being asked everywhere. I simply asked for an investigation to be done. So I didn't predetermine the matter. I didn't predetermine the outcome. I asked the correct person as an ordinary MP, not a member of the JSCI, which did not exist at that stage, to do the investigation. So for him to suggest that somehow I was forcing somebody to do something, no. I asked the Inspector General to investigate. That is what I did. I find this attack on me quite bizarre in the extreme. And because he's incorrect in his claim that I was a member of the JSCI,
And I'll just have to ask, there is another MP that's also been accused this afternoon in regards to that, and that's Fidel Adams, also implicated in that. Between the two of you, I would say, is your matter perhaps different from his, given the fact that he, of course, should have not had any access whatsoever to any type of intelligence information?
It's totally different. He has claimed that he had in his hands classified information. I mean, that, as far as I know, is a criminal offense right away. So it has to be determined how he came upon it. And I think he's been very clear on what he did with it. That's not something I've ever done or ever would do. And nor would I ever walk out of the JSCI. One can't take classified information out of those offices. It's an impossibility. So what he's been up to is none of my business, but it's very bizarre indeed. And to be linked with that is quite insulting.
Democratic Alliance MP Diane Kohler Barnard there speaking to us about those allegations coming from Mkhwanazi, speaking, of course, about MPs that may have interfered with some of the state work. Thank you so much for your time.
Things are getting quite weird and interesting by the end of this commission. We will be hoping more people can understand how politics really is a dirty game. And if we're serious as a country on fixing our problems, we should look within ourselves and outside of politicians for leaders who can assist in rebuilding our country. Do share what you think about Kohler Barnard being named as another political figure who makes sneaky moves to sow divisions within the country's intelligence services. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comments down below. Also, don't forget to watch Fidel Adams' fiery response to General Mkhwanazi on our next link video in case you missed it.